So of late I've been hearing about Miyawaki. I mean, I see a lot of organizations and individuals talking about it. What is the concept of Miyawaki?
First of all, Miyawaki is the name of a person. Even some people have asked me, can I get a sampling of Miyawaki? Because the word Miyawaki forest is so popular, nobody knows what it is. So Miyawaki is the family name of Professor Akira Miyawaki. Akira Miyawaki is a Japanese botanist, and his contribution is that he worked for the development of natural forests in a short span of time. Normally these natural forests cannot be created because it takes hundreds of years to evolve. It can only be evolved. Whereas Professor Miyawaki introduced a method where we can create a natural forest model. He is calling it a natural forest model because original natural forest is always coming through evolution. So this natural forest model can be created in a short span of time, which means around 3 to 4 years you can get a forest model, and the growth rate is almost say if you want to create a natural forest that gets the growth that a natural forest gets in 100 years can be achieved in 25 years. So if when you create a forest, and within 10 years it will be equal to that of a 30-year-old or 50-year-old natural forest. That is the concept. So he has developed certain techniques for that, and he has popularized them. During his lifetime, he has planted around 40 million trees around the world, and he has created around 1,500 forests minimum, because the actual number is still a dispute, but it is too many, because it is something more than that a person can do in his lifetime. Of course, his lifetime was pretty long. He lived from 1928 to 2021, and forest model was developed for the first time in 1970. So he got around 50 years to popularize it.
To popularize it and build over it. So how, when you say natural forest, so how different is Miyawaki forest from the conventional afforestation method?
So conventional afforestation method, because the social forestry and all, they have their own methods where they plant trees, maybe around 400 trees they plant. The basic difference is they plant around 400 trees in a single space, whereas in around 1 acre of land, if you take the unit, in 1 acre of land they plant around 400 plants. Whereas in Miyawaki model we plant around 16,000 plants on an average.
In 1 acre?
In 1 acre. So it can vary, because in 1 square meter you can plant from 2 to 9 plants, saplings in Miyawaki model, whereas in normal model they plant around 1 sapling in 10 square meter. That is the difference. Okay. But that is the basic difference. There are so many other parameters. One is that in Miyawaki model you are planting around 30 species minimum. You can go for even more, but minimum there should be 30 species. But in conventional afforestation, there is no such condition. You can plant even 1 or 2 plants. For example, this is Acacia mangium or eucalypts. So that is actually monocrop. Miyawaki doesn't advocate or suggest monocrops. He is always for multi species, and also these species should be the potential natural vegetation of that area. Okay. You cannot put an exotic plant there, because there are plants coming from various parts.
That was my next question. Is there a criteria for to select the plants while?
The criteria is basically it should be potential natural vegetation. When you are planting trees in one area, that should be the potential natural vegetation of that area. Potential natural vegetation means the plants that are normally growing in that area. So there are different types of plants. Even in forest there are different types of plants. We are not noticing it. Many people are noticing it, but botanists and all are very much aware of it.
Not everyone knows the names or the details.
Not only the name, because the size and type. For example, there are herbaceous species which is growing on the floor. There are shrubs which is maybe around 2-3 feet or 4-5 feet high. And there are sub-trees which are even the next layer. And then there are trees. And finally there are emergent trees, which are the large ones which are growing or maybe 100 feet or even more than that. So all these are in different layers. So forest is not a single layer, it is multi-layers. The layers from lower level to higher level to higher level, it goes like that. So when you are planting a forest, you have to do that, copy that there also, because when you are doing conventional afforestation, that layer is not taken care of. They are just planting 1 or 2 types of trees, and
it's random.
Basically they are using it as a timber producing factory. I mean, not a factory, a timber producing field. Something like that. But here it is eco-restoration.
Okay.
That means one of the basic difference is that the number of species. And why so much of number of species there? Because one thing is that there is a symbiotic relationship between the soil and the plant. So each of these species, each of these plants, or each of the weeds around us, they send a different type of exudate, because we know that plants are producing food with sunlight from forest, that is called photosynthesis. And whatever food they produce, a portion of that, a percentage of that is being pumped into soil. Every plant is doing that. So there will be microbes in the soil which is being fed with this food produced by the trees, and the microbes are producing certain micronutrients and giving it to the trees in return. So microbes get their food from the trees, and the trees get their food from the microbe. This is the symbiotic relationship between trees and microbes. And for each tree, the microbe will be different. For example, carrot, potato, or yam, all these are carbohydrates, but they are different in shape, color, taste, content, component, everything. But all of them are carbohydrates. Just like that, every tree is producing some food and giving it to the soil, but that food is different. So accordingly, the microbes around the trees will also be different. So that what the tree requires, that is also different. So there is a very complex relationship in soil and trees and microbes and all those things. So when we are wiping off the forest and planting some monocrop there, actually the very complex nature of the forest is wiped out. It becomes a monocrop, it becomes a plantation.
Plantation kind of.
So that plantation cannot host.
It's more like a field, not like a
natural forest. And also this plantation, there is only one type of tree, or two types of trees, or three types of trees, not that much. So there is a similar relationship between the insects and the butterflies and the small creatures and the plants. Okay, so there are hosting plants. If a butterfly wants to survive, it needs a particular plant because its larvae are eating the leaves of that plant. So if you plant some exotic flowering plants in your house and waiting for butterflies cannot come and do that, because they need certain specific trees, and that is different for each species. So if you want all those butterflies and insects and all, and you can't imagine how much of them are there. Even in this small Miyawaki forest here, we have noticed around 175 small insects so far. So it may be even more, because what we have got in our mobile recording, that is around 170 species in last 2 years. So it can go even grow further. So all these, we don't know from where they are coming. With every new plant, some species is coming. So we don't know from where it's coming and how it survives and all. So when we are wiping off this vegetation, naturally all these things will go out. So that will be an empty land, a barren land.
So I actually wanted to, because you brought this topic up saying that, there is 170 species here. How did what was your inspiration behind creating this?
What I said is, we have 170 species of insects here.
Insects.
If you take the plants, there are around more than 500 species. So the inspiration is that I was born and brought up in a small place, a village like town. It's a town, but we cannot call it a town because it was a village in those days, maybe 50 years back, 60 years back. And there were so many trees and plants and everything, and urbanization has not started. Even road was not good. Even car could not access my ancestral house. We had to walk for some distance. So in such a place, there is a lot of difference when there is a rain. So for example, in every rain there will be invariably these mushrooms. Today, if I want to see mushroom, I have to go to a supermarket.
Yeah.
But there were mushrooms in those days after every rain. In rainy season, we were waiting for that. Just like that, so many other things are there, and there was a timing for everything. So we know when the jackfruit will be ready, we know when the mangoes will be ripe, we know when the cashews will be ripe, we know when the tamarind will be ripe. So in every season it will be like that, and also the fragrance. We know in which season which plant is flowering and what will be the smell, what will be the color. And during autumn, after rain, everything will be in a different shape. During summer, so that type of, even during Vishu festival, there will be this cassia, that kanikonna, that flowers are there.